nation's biggest retailer asked its top 100 outside legal counsel, the law firms based on billings, to provide a detailed report of their employment of minorities and women since 2002. The letter also said, and I quote, "Walmart will end or limit its relationships with law firms who fail to demonstrate a meaningful interest in the importance of diversity," end quote. After diversifying its own legal department, Walmart decided to hold its outside counsel to the same standards. I'm Skip Rutherford, the Dean of the University of Arkansas Clinton School of Public Service, and I am pleased to introduce a good friend of mine tonight. Tom Mars is the General Counsel for Walmart, heading the department that spends about $250 million a year in outside legal services. After noticing that 82 of the relationship partners at Walmart's top 100 firms were white men, he decided to do something. As a direct result, more women and minorities now manage Walmart's legal work. For these efforts, Walmart has been recognized by several diversity organizations, including the American Bar Association, Commission on Racial and Ethnic Diversity, the National Association of Women Lawyers, and the National Bar Association. We're honored to have Tom with us tonight, former partner in the Rose Law Firm, former director of the Arkansas State Police. After his presentation, Nikolai DePippa will moderate a question and answer session, and it will be followed by a reception. It's an incredible story, ladies and gentlemen. It's about one man and one company and one group of people that have made a huge difference. If it is true, as I believe, that James Carville and Karl Rove changed the way elections were done, then Tom Mars has changed the way law firms are made. It's an incredible story, and you're going to enjoy it as we have. The General Counsel of Walmart, Tom Mars.
Thank you, Dean, for that generous introduction. Boy, it's good to be back in Little Rock and see all the familiar faces. I have to say, a few of you, I don't get an opportunity to be down here very often. I really miss it. What a beautiful venue. A venue that I would note is usually reserved for far more distinguished speakers, but we're very grateful to the Dean for the invitation to be here. I'd like to introduce one of my colleagues, Jeff Gerhardt, who's the Division General Counsel for the Corporate Division Legal Department, and Jeff McInnes, standing at his left, who's an Associate General Counsel with our company. Those are two of approximately 140 lawyers that work in-house for Walmart in our legal department up in Bentonville. Dean, where did you go? Here. I want you to hear me say this, and I sure want your daughter to hear this. You've been a great friend to me, to the company. You've been a trusted advisor, a great navigator who's guided us through some pretty choppy waters, and we thank you for that. And Lee Scott sends his regards and thanks you for this invitation to have us come down here and speak to this audience. And I want to thank you personally. I think this is an amazing place, a place that's developing students to become public servants, change agents, and eventually global leaders. And I think there's no limit to what the people graduating from the school can do. And at Walmart, we likewise feel like there's not any limit to what we can do as a company to help change the world and make it a better place. I should tell you that it seems like just yesterday. My geography is a little poor, but I think it's that way. 4th and Stop. It seems like it was just yesterday that I was sitting in a suitably small office, I should say. David Williams was occupying another one, Watt, and others here, but mine happened to be next door to the lady who was then the First Lady of the state of Arkansas. And for those of you who don't know, when I was a brand new lawyer years ago, clerking on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals for Judge McKay, Hillary persuaded me to come to Little Rock, join the Rose Law Firm, and I worked for her about 3 years. I worked for other partners, but primarily I worked for her. And since that time, there's not been any lawyer that I've been exposed to who's had a greater influence on my thinking about the role that lawyers can play in public service and the importance of diversity, not just in the legal profession, but in our global society, in our boardrooms, in our courtrooms, and public buildings. And for that, I just wanted to say I'll always be grateful for Hillary's willingness to help shape my young legal mind and plant those seeds a long, long time ago. I think she was probably skeptical that any of them would actually sink in, but they in fact did. And it wasn't until many years later, just recently, that I became the general counsel of Walmart and was exposed to our leadership, Lee Scott, board chairman Rob Walton, our company's culture, that I was able to really appreciate what Hillary was trying to teach me 20 years ago. And because of that leadership and because of the conversation or two with Lee and his encouragement, I was really able to put that to good use. And so I think it's fitting that tonight the Clinton School of Public Service provides a venue for us to be here talking about something that we're passionate about as a company, that I'm personally passionate about, and my colleagues are also passionate about. Diversity in the legal profession and what we can do as lawyers and public servants to help level the playing field and create more opportunities and equal opportunities for female lawyers and lawyers of color, not just here at Little Rock, but all across America. And I will tell you that in the 20 years or so that I've been practicing law, there hasn't been anything that's been more rewarding to me personally than being able to participate in this journey, this diversity journey at Walmart. And I want to share with you briefly just how it started, because I think it provides the context you need to understand why our company is doing some of the things that it's doing, like slashing the cost of generic drugs to $4 and taking aggressive steps to protect the environment. Shortly after I got this job, I'd gone over to Europe with Lee Scott, our CEO, and we were flying back in a company plane. Lee was up in the front, and the rest of the people on the trip were congregated up there, and as usual, I was as far away from him as I could get. I was seated in the very back, because I felt like that was the appropriate place for a lawyer to be. And about halfway back, as we were across the North Atlantic, he wandered back and struck up a conversation with me, and he's a wonderful, warm guy. If you haven't heard him speak, you don't know him, but he was talking about the icebergs in the North Atlantic, and I was getting an education on icebergs that I never imagined getting at 40,000 feet. And he was looking out the window, and he turned back to me and he said, "By the way, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about." He said, "In your position as general counsel at Walmart, as head of our legal department, it's inevitable that someday you'll see an opportunity to use Walmart in an appropriate way to do something good for society. I don't know what it will be." He said, "But it's inevitable that will happen because of the position you occupy at the company." And he said, "I want you to know two things about that before it happens. First," he said, "when, not if, when that opportunity presents itself, you not only have my blessing, but my encouragement to do something about it, to use Walmart in an appropriate way to make this a better world, a better society. And secondly," and he looked at me right now and he said, "if you pass on that opportunity when it comes your way, I'll be really disappointed." And then he just looked out the window and started talking about the icebergs again. And being new on the job, I decided I would just file it away for future reference. I wasn't sure exactly what that meant. But today I do. Lee has the uncanny ability to, as we were discussing back here, to see around corners. A phrase that I borrowed from Colin Powell. He uses that to describe people who have the ability to identify issues and see things that might happen and evaluate them before ordinary people do. And that's one of the qualities we really look for in lawyers. not only lawyers inside the department, but lawyers like some of you who represent us outside the company. But it's a skill that he has that's really pretty phenomenal. So could I share with you the story? I love telling the story, but before I tell you, I just have to give you a little bit of context, because we're not all lawyers here, and some of you who aren't lawyers might not fully appreciate the background, the problem it is we're trying to address and have been addressing. It reminds me of the famous line from Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. These are the best of times, and these are the worst of times. And you might wonder, why would you suggest such a paradox here? And I'll tell you quickly why. And that is, before any of us came along, started working on diversity in the profession, there were pathfinders going back 3 decades who were working effectively and working hard and consistently to improve opportunities for women lawyers and for minority lawyers in the United States. And I would be the first to say that measurable progress has been achieved over those 3 decades, but I'd also be the first to say not much measurable progress has been achieved. I'd also be the first to say that it's quite disturbing that here in 2006, we're still holding seminars and having discussions, and otherwise trying to persuade some of the wealthiest, most influential, most successful, most powerful members of our profession that they should embrace diversity. Not just because it's the right thing to do, because it unquestionably is the right thing to do, but also because it's the smart business thing to do. The fact that we're still having to spend so much effort convincing people of that is concerning, to say the least. Much has been written about what's called the business case for diversity. A Google search of that term produces more than 150 million hits, which tells you how much discussion there is in the business world, not just the legal world, about the business case for diversity. Despite that, the business case for diversity has not been broadly accepted yet by American law firms. Amazingly, today, many white male members of our profession, and I can say this because I'm a white male, I'm very comfortable saying what is so obviously true here. Many white male members of our profession rationalize the lack of diversity in their own law firms by asserting, completely contrary to our experience at Walmart, I should add, that increasing diversity in their firms necessarily means lowering standards. These attitudes are, to say the least, disturbing, and should cause all of us, lawyers and non-lawyers alike, to be deeply concerned. I'll share with you the metrics about diversity progress in our profession are equally concerning. According to a recent survey, 79% of the managing partners of the largest 200 law firms in America, which we call the MR 200, are white males. While female enrollment is up at law schools now about 50% nationally compared to 40% a couple of decades ago, the percentage of female partners in U.S. law firms has stalled at about 17%. Based on current rates, it will take until 2115, 109 years from now, to reach 50% female partner representation in U.S. law firms, a statistic that should concern all of us. Another recent survey shows that 81% of female minority lawyers leave private firms in the first 5 years. Another recent survey shows that half of all minority male lawyers have left their first law firm by the end of their 3rd year. Statistics aside, practicing lawyers understand, and some of you here understand, that promotion and success in U.S. law firms doesn't just depend on one's ability to practice law, it also depends on one's ability to develop and control the allocation of work for profitable books of business, such as those generated by Fortune 500 companies. Now, despite all the efforts that have been going on for 3 years and all the discussion, the culture and the business model of most large law firms still encourages legacy partner-client relationships relationships that are passed down from one generation of white male to the next. And in the process, highly qualified, talented, high-performing female and minority lawyers are put at a considerable disadvantage in terms of compensation, promotion, and the ability to obtain management positions within their firms. While all these statistics and anecdotal information would suggest that this is the worst of times, in other respects, this really is the best of times. Let me explain. First, as the chair of the American Bar Association Minority Council Program Steering Committee, which I've had the privilege to be involved with for almost 2 years now, that steering committee consists of roughly a dozen Fortune 500 general counsels, most of them Fortune 100. And these are big companies with big books of business. The names are names familiar to some of you. Alvin Gonzalez-Pita, the General Counsel of Tyson, for instance, Larry Thompson, who's the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, and now the GC PepsiCo. These people I call my friends, but we meet often and talk often about diversity and what we're going to do about it. And when I first became involved in this group a couple of years ago, there wasn't nearly the interest, there wasn't nearly the willingness, there wasn't nearly the focus or the commitment, but I will assure you, if you'd like fair warning, that there is now. And what we've been doing the last 2 years, you're going to see replicated across the country in companies that have large books of business, and I'm talking about collectively $1 billion or billions of dollars of business. So if you're a lawyer and you're looking for a business case for diversity, let me assure you, we're going to provide it. And in fact, a large number of firms, forward-looking firms, are already changing their recruiting practices and initiating very effective retention programs, and they are already reaping the dividends of that from a business standpoint, because people like me and Larry Thompson and Al Gonzalez and many other people, Rick Palmore, and I could go on and on, are absolutely committed to diversity, and we are going to do something about it. And those of you who are forward-thinking in law firms and law firms around the United States are going to be real winners. Some of you know there's a call to action that Rick Palmore, General Counsel of Sarah Lee, has put together. There are over 100 signatories, general counsels who've all committed to limit or terminate the relationships with law firms that don't embrace diversity. We're going to have a summit meeting in New York City in November, and you just watch what happens after that, because this Fortune 100 corporate legal machine is not only getting traction, but it's gaining momentum, and that's all good news. And other good news, 93% of the AmLaw 200 firms just surveyed reported that they have a diversity committee, and half of them, or almost half of them, have a diversity manager. So there's a lot to be done, but there's a lot that's being done. What else can be done to accelerate the pace of change? Before I share with you our story, I'll just tell you it's pretty simple. The tone at the top of corporate law departments is important, but it's not enough. We need more talk, but we need a lot more walk. And what we need is general counsels across the board to persistently press for progress, hold people accountable, and to get their own houses in order before they insist that their law firms do. There are many, many methods that could be used by corporate law departments to encourage private law firms to embrace diversity, but our own experience at Walmart that I'm going to share with you now demonstrates unquestionably that this can be done in a way where everybody comes out a winner. Let me tell you the story that the dean alluded to. And let me just take you back to early part of 2002 when I went to Walmart and in May became general counsel. I was charged with the responsibility of growing the legal department and making it a lot better. I don't know how else to explain what my first job assignment was. And at that time, 17 sanctions had been entered against the company in federal and state courts for various violations, some very minor, but still violations in litigation. And we really faced a challenge. Our company was growing fast, and the legal department had not kept pace. There were 56 lawyers when I got there, and about 16, if I'm not mistaken, I think 16 exactly, are still with us. And today we have 140, and you can do the math and figure out how many lawyers we've hired in 4.5 years. We had no meaningful diversity in our legal department when I arrived. We had no minorities in leadership positions. I mean, really, there was no diversity. And today, the number would actually be higher if we pulled back the people in the department that have been promoted and put into the business units. But even if we don't count those people and just count the 140 some lawyers in Bentonville, 32, almost 33% of those lawyers are lawyers of color. More than 40% are women. These are outstanding lawyers, some of the best lawyers in America. Don't take my word for it. Let me explain by way of example. The last, just happens to be the last addition to my direct report team, which consists of 11 vice presidents who are all division general counsels, is Alberto Mora, a Cuban American who was the general counsel of the United States Navy when I recruited him to come to Walmart. As I was telling somebody a moment ago, shortly after he arrived, he came into my office and was very apologetic and said, "I know I just got here. I know there's a lot to do, but I wonder if I can get a couple of days off because the Kennedy Foundation just called and I'm going to receive the Profile of Courage Award next month. And they want me to come to Boston and receive it because you may remember and may even be familiar with Alberto's name because the New Yorker's written stories about it in the New York Times. In fact, he was on Ted Koppel last week. And he is the government official, the public servant, if you will, who did his duty and blew the whistle all the way up to Secretary Rumsfeld about the treatment of the prisoners, the detainees. And while he wasn't entirely successful, he is deserving of a lot of the credit, not all of it, for bringing that to the forefront for public discussion and resolution. And he is just one example of many. Brian Henry, senior associate at a large firm, the name familiar to most of you in here, in Chicago, senior associate who happens to be an African American. He also happens to be maybe the most talented M&A lawyer I've ever met. And we onboarded him. He moved from Chicago with his wife Nicole, who now works a flex time schedule in our department. And 6 weeks ago, the vice chairman of our company approached me and said, "Tom, he is so good that we've got to have him on the business side. We want to promote him and make him senior director of Walmart International Mergers and Acquisitions," and that's where Brian is today. And I could go on and on and on about the great talent that we've picked up. How did we do it? It all started with Susan Clues, who's the senior employment lawyer, vice president, division general counsel for our employment division, coming to me shortly after I joined the company, shortly after I became general counsel, which was in the summer of 2002. And as I was sharing with the students, Susan came to me and said, maybe 2 weeks after I was on the job, while I was just trying to keep my head above water, she comes in and she says, "I really want you to go to a Minority Bar Association meeting and support the governor." And I said, "Well, I'm busy. Thank you. Can I get back to you?" And I soon learned that Susan was not one to be put off, and she came back a second time and said, "There's another meeting, and I wonder if you'd be willing to go to this one." And I said, "I'd love to, but I'm busy." And so then my assistant came in a few days later and said, "Did you tell Susan you'd go to this meeting? Because she's already booked you and told them you're coming." And then she said, and I said, and not one to be pushed, I said, "Well, I'm busy." And she goes, "Well, too bad, because she's told them that you're speaking." And they've already put something out. So anyway, I went to Chicago, and it was an eye-opener for me. It would be an eye-opener for so many lawyers similarly situated if they could just get out of their office and experience what we experienced, what first I experienced. And I came back home and I thought, man, the talent pool that I saw there was incredible. Otis McGee is an African-American lawyer from San Francisco, just recently inducted in the American College of Trial Lawyers, and several of you know what that means, and a member of a BOTA organization that I belong to here in Arkansas. I thought about Otis all the way home, and I thought, man, where can we get people as good as he is? Why would we use headhunters to try to find people when these people are right there? And so I came back and I said to my team, you know, I had this epiphany while I was at this meeting. And the first reaction was, well, that's interesting, but like, why do you want us to go to these meetings? And I said, I'm not sure. I just want to do this. And so we started in the fall of that year saturating these meetings with lawyers. First, from a leadership standpoint, with lawyers who were minority reports. And I remember Jeff looking at me sort of funny, like, you know, we've got a lot to do, and you want me to go do what? But we did. And it was incredible. The journey that we went on from there, and the journey that we're still on, just incredible. And the most rewarding thing I've ever done as a lawyer. We got our own house in order, but we didn't do anything complicated to make that happen. We just went out and listened to people, and I heard stories one-on-one from female lawyers. I was recently up in New York at the National Association of Women's Lawyers meeting, and they were very kind. There was some recognition and award up there, and I still found myself picking up new pieces of information, which made me look differently at flex time, a concept that I scoffed at a few years ago. I'm telling you, just getting out and living and experiencing diversity at the grassroots level is what this takes, and it's what it's all about. It's not about paper, it's not about checking the box, it's about people and relationships. And as a result of all that, 32 to 33% of our lawyers are lawyers of color in Bentonville. 50% of lawyers we hired this year in Bentonville are lawyers of color. 68% of those we hired last year were lawyers of color. And we can't hire them fast enough, because the more talented lawyers we hire, the more the business people want them to go work in the business. And so, you know, Cole Brown, an African-American female lawyer, you know, been promoted, and she's gone to Sam's Club and down to the People Division, and Claude Kent likewise, and the list goes on and on and on. It's an amazing thing. But the most amazing part of this story, and I'm going to finish up, is what happened last spring with Sam Reeves, who is an Arkansan, who would fit in perfectly in this group right here. Came back from a diversity conference in Philadelphia, walked in my office, closed the door. He said, I've realized that there's a big miss here and a big opportunity for us to do something that would help. I said, what is it? He said, well, I was at this meeting, I was on this panel, and I struck up a conversation with this African-American lawyer, and he took me aside and he said, what you guys are doing, hiring people, is great. If you really want to make an impact in the profession, do something about the fact that everybody knows to be successful in a large U.S. law firm, you've got to have client development and client control over big books of business. And he said to Sam, if you guys, I don't know how you do it, but if you guys want to make a difference, that's where you need to be spending your time and your energy. So Sam came back a few days later and he said, I looked at the relationship partners, those are the people who, in our world, really control the business in that firm. They are the funnel through which all that business goes. It's a make it or break it business relationship. All our great, profitable, for the firm's relationships are ones where we have a great relationship with that partner, the relationship partner. The ones that haven't been quite as successful, that relationship's not as good. But Sam reported that 82 of the 100 relationship partners in the 100 highest paid firms, a list that we keep by revenue ranking, 82 of those partners were white males. And interestingly, that compares pretty closely to 79% of the managing partners in the MLO 200 are white males. So Sam set out, and I've received far too much credit for this, because like most good ideas at Walmart, they come from the people who know most about what's going on. Sam Walton used to say, nothing important happens in the home office. And I think a lot of people would agree with that today. But this is the way our organization works. The people in the stores are the people that make Walmart successful. And here Sam came back, reported this, did the research, and came back a few days later and he said, here's what I want to do. I want to send a letter out to the law firms, and we're going to send anyway asking for information. And we want to ask them, as partners with us, to nominate 5 relationship partners. They can nominate the existing one if they want to, but they don't have to. But their slate of 5 candidates must include at least 1 minority and 1 female. And he said, from that, I'm going to get together with my team. It's going to take a long time. I remember he said, it's going to take forever. But we're going to go one by one, and we're going to take all the information we have about this law firm, all our experience, subjective, and we're going to evaluate it as best we can with no goals for the end of this project. But we're going to ask ourselves with respect to each law firm, if we change out the relationship partner, are we likely to help this firm advance its diversity program? Are we likely to help this firm move forward at a faster pace with its diversity program? And I remember thinking about lawyer Brian Duffy, his relationship partner with Greenberg Traurig, a Denver-based firm, does a lot of business with us, and he's a white male. And when Brian first heard about this, I had to be standing there, and he turned white because he had controlled this business for a long time. And I said, Brian, I'm not making this decision, but I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. Greenberg Traurig has an excellent diversity record, and they do, and they get it. And I said, it's not our intention to make changes where they're not necessary. And today, he's still the relationship partner, and they're still doing as good a job with our diversity program. A footnote there, I would say, we never intended, but it turned out that we not only ended up with many, many more minority and female relationship partners for reasons I'll explain in a minute, but we also ended up with some white male relationship partners who are much more motivated and focused on diversity than they were before this exercise. And as a result, they did go through that exercise. Sam and his team changed out the relationship partners in 40 of those 100 law firms. So now, when we had the firms come in for our annual diversity conference a month later, you could look around the room, and the white males were, for the first time in the history of the company, outside lawyers who the white males were the minorities. And if I could translate this into dollars for you, that if we calculated how much business each one of those firms had done with us in the previous fiscal year, that transferred $60 million of business that was previously controlled by white males to female and minority relationship partners. And the best part of the story, the part that I love to tell, is that we couldn't be happier with the service and the responsiveness. It's better than it's ever been before. It's outstanding. And better yet, while we never intended to do anything except try to fix a problem that was in our own backyard, we unintentionally created a ripple effect throughout the nation in law firms from coast to coast and other corporate law departments who also saw the importance of empowering minorities and females so that they could compete on a level playing field. And I want to wrap up so that we have time to take questions, but I also want to share with you, and it's really important for me to say this, there was never any PR angle or media objective behind any of this. In fact, we turned down an award from the Minority Council Corporate Association because I didn't want any publicity about this. And their director, Vita Richardson, who's now a dear friend of mine, sat me down later and she was really concerned, and I realized I'd sort of hurt her feelings. And she explained to me that getting publicity about this isn't a bad thing. It will motivate minority lawyers and females throughout the country, motivate all those lawyers who are in our stable of outside law firms. She said, Tom, you don't understand. This is something that needs to be publicized. And so we did accept their generous award, which was the first of several awards that the departments received. And I think Vita was right. I think that it's important to talk about what's going on, be truthful about it. And I'm very optimistic, as I said, that we're on the verge of seeing a lot of change in our profession, change that will enrich all of us, that will enrich our legal department even further, that will enrich your law firms if you're in one of them, and will enrich America. I want to just take a minute and tell you a little bit about our scale, and we'll close by telling you about how we intend to take our program to the next level. Walmart's in the news a lot, have you noticed? I get an email every morning from our PR people that talks about the number of news clips and the number of news stories about Walmart today. It's phenomenal. But listen to this, we have 1.8 million employees around the world, about 1.3 million in the United States. We have retail operations in 14 countries, sales of $312 billion. We serve more than 170 million customers every week throughout the world. About 127 million come through our stores in the U.S. every week. We have 6,500 units at stores around the world, and we're on track this year to open more than 250 supercenters in the United States. Last year, we processed 5 billion cases of merchandise through 118 distribution centers. We have commercial relationships with 60,000 suppliers. We have more than 5 times the amount of data in the Library of Congress print collection in our information systems, which for those of you who are computer literate is 550 plus terabytes. And for those of you who are lawyers, we have over 5,500 lawsuits, including a large number of complex cases. And consider this, last year on average, our litigation support unit internally processed, on the average, approximately 3,300 information requests each month. So, needless to say, there's plenty of work for us to do in Bentonville. And while there's plenty of work for us to do, there's plenty of growth in our legal department. And so we continue to recruit at these diversity organization meetings. Last year, we attended 45 diversity events. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but this year, and I think all but 6 lawyers in the department went. Now we have a waiting list because those events are so popular. We sent 15 people to the Hispanic National Bar meeting in Washington, another 15 or 20 people in Texas a week or so ago. And we continue to recruit. But let me tell you what we plan to do that we think is pretty exciting. You've seen probably through some of the press that the real power of Walmart as a change agent for positive social change is not just Walmart, but as we illustrated with our environmental initiatives that rolled out earlier this year, as illustrated by the large attendance at the meeting we had in Bentonville when Al Gore joined us for a day earlier this year. The real power of Walmart exists through our relationship with our partner suppliers. And that's not only true in connection with important changes we're making that will conserve natural resources, changes that we're making that will protect our climate. It's also true with respect to diversity in the profession. And so we are working on a little program that isn't quite ready yet, but models some of the other things we've done in other areas where we'll be calling on some of our very significant supplier partners who have large books of legal business and asking them to join us in a concerted effort so that we can use our collective Walmart horsepower to move forward and improve opportunities for lawyers of color in private firms and to support other diversity initiatives such as the badly needed pipeline programs, which frankly there are not enough lawyers coming through the pipeline to meet the demand that existed even 2 or 3 years ago. But we are helping increase that demand quite a bit, and it's important that all of us recognize we need to invest our energy and resources in pipeline programs. So last year you would have seen a lot of us in Washington, D.C. at the Crump Law Camp, for example. And the year before you would have seen a lot of Walmart lawyers and all the students carrying around little Walmart backpacks and Walmart pads and pens. And there's not any single thing that goes on in our legal department that's a better retention tool for those of you who are looking for ways to retain lawyers than to get involved in a diversity program and have your lawyers be the frontline participants. And it's just amazing. It's clear that some firms are going to choose not to make diversity as big a priority as billable hours or old-fashioned client development on the golf course. And as far as I'm concerned, that's okay, because we're the customer and they're the service provider. And we've done a lot more to provide them with what our expectations are than we would ever expect of our own customers. We've been very clear about it. And it's up to our law firms to choose whether to make this important. And those who choose not to will create a space for another firm, because frankly there are firms lined up at our door, great law firms all over the country, who are more than happy to prove to us their commitment to diversity so that they can participate on a long-term basis in being a partner and be part of that win-win scenario. So there's no doubt what Walmart has done in this area has made a difference, and it makes me proud to be here to talk to you about it on behalf of Walmart. But look for us to stay out in front on a number of other social policy issues when we find that our size and our influence and experience can be used for the benefit of our customers and our associates and our shareholders and for the world at large. Because we're going to be very active doing things in areas where we see opportunity, where we can help make the world a better place. Dean, thank you for giving us this opportunity. I'm glad to take questions.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions?
When you hire a female lawyer out of law school, she's in their prime childbearing years, and a lot of them would like to be both a successful lawyer and a successful mother. What does Walmart do to make that possible?
Well, I can speak to the legal department's initiatives right now. The company is looking at all kinds of ways to improve the associate experience, and that's certainly one issue. But from my experience at the National Association of Women's Lawyers meeting in New York, a meeting where I was really saturated with commentary, and thanks to a wonderful lawyer in Washington, D.C., provided with plenty of advanced reading material, I was almost forced to learn about something that I didn't really understand. And so I came back from that meeting on Sunday and Tuesday when our report group met. I said without hesitation, we need to reevaluate this, and we need to develop a flex time pilot program, because this presents an opportunity for us to lead in an area that is not only important, but can have an incredible benefit for our company. Because I frankly now believe, and I was the first to, I did actually scoff at the suggestion a couple of years ago when someone, I don't remember who, in our department asked me what I thought about flex time. I need to go back and apologize to that person, but I just can't remember who she is. But in lieu of that, maybe I can do something more meaningful, and I intend to do that. We engaged Catalyst the first week of August, and had meetings 3 times a week during the month of August to develop a proposed flex time policy, and we have just a little bit more work to do with it. But I believe that when corporate America recognizes, and when law firms recognize the benefits of those programs, this will catch fire everywhere. There was I read just today, a DC firm that's developed a very cutting-edge flex time policy, and all the metrics are incredible. Take your pick, whatever your point of view is, it really won't matter, because all the metrics you might look at to see how successful that firm is by any measure show that it's more successful, a lot more successful now than it was before it did that. So fortunately, I'd say we all have a lot to learn still, and I have a lot to learn. I'm fortunate to be in a company which exposes me to people in different places and different ideas that we can learn.
Any questions?
How about like daycare, leaves of absence, and things like that?
The firm in Washington is reported to have done all of those things. Right now, we're looking at a flex time program that the Catalyst consultants would call state-of-the-art, but it does not involve, and I'm talking about the legal department, and I'm talking about a pilot program here, but it does not involve daycare. I'm not sure where our discussions internally stand on it. But it's be the first day, it's an important issue.
Anybody else?
Hi, Tom.
Hi, nice to see you.
Two questions. If you have a firm who is not meeting your standards in terms of diversity, do they have a grace period? And do you assist them in bringing their standards up to meet what you need for them to do? And second question, it's such a powerful model. Has any discussion been made about taking that to the whole vendor community, taking it outside of the legal profession and using that diversity model for the entire vendor community?
I can answer the second question quickly by saying I don't know if there's any discussion about taking that model to the entire vendor community. The first question, with respect, the question, if you didn't hear it, was do we give the firms grace period if they're not performing up to our expectations? Yes, but we told them at the diversity conference, and we frequently remind them that we're not nearly as patient as some of our colleagues, and that we only warned them once, and they've already received that warning. I can illustrate how we really do this by telling a story that one of my colleagues, Jeff Gerhardt, was part of or privy to. I saw that we had a firm that very rapidly, because they were doing such great work in a very niche, expensive area, had grown its book of business into the millions. And because it was a firm that I wasn't all that familiar with, because it was new and it was a boutique firm, I asked to see the statistics on the diversity. And the statistics were horrible. I mean, they couldn't get much worse. And I did a little more investigation, and I was satisfied that this firm wasn't really doing anything. And because we're at all these diversity events, it's pretty easy for us to know who's doing something because you see people at these events. So I talked to Jeff about it and said, I want to call the managing partner. And I did, and I was on a speakerphone, so Jeff heard the whole conversation. It just so happened, I didn't know this, that the managing partner of this firm was also our relationship partner, but he'd only become the managing partner the week before. And as Jeff knows, I fully intended to fire the firm, and I felt like it was appropriate for me to do that, and so that's what I was going to do. And so this fellow I talked to, I've never talked to before, said that I just became the managing partner last week, and he started saying things. I mean, I talked to enough people about diversity, particularly enough white men, to sort of know the difference between somebody who knows something about it and somebody who knows nothing. And I could tell that he knew something about it, and he said, just give me a chance. And I said, okay. And there wasn't a request for 30 days or 60 days. It wasn't like that. The next day, we get an email, and somebody gets a phone call, and they confirm that they formed a diversity committee, that they have a diversity budget, and they've done some other things. And I thought, well, that's nice, but anybody can do that. I can window dressing. The next week, I'm in New York City speaking at a diversity conference, and this is not a New York City law firm. This lawyer is not in New York City, but he had traveled to New York City to meet with me. And since then, they have hired a number of lawyers. They have done things better than a lot of firms that we thought were pretty good. And one of the things we've learned, I learned anyway, from that experience is be careful how you exercise your power of influence, because sometimes you may be tempted to move too quickly and eliminate an opportunity for a firm to really grow. In fact, Jeff met somebody yesterday at the event that he attended, who's a New York City-based lawyer with a large national firm, and she told him, a minority lawyer, and she told him, you know, I know our firm's not where it needs to be, but you guys are making a difference. And she started telling specific, giving specific examples, you know, of how they look at things differently now, and how certain people in the firm say things differently, and how they're now moving fast. And I know, she doesn't know this, but I flew to Los Angeles and met face-to-face with the managing partner in that firm 2 months ago, and explained to them what was going to happen if they didn't move a lot faster. And apparently it had some impact.
Anybody else? Let's thank Tom and his two colleagues, Jeff Ennis and Jeff Gearhart, one more time, and join us for a reception